The 50 worst places to live in England. There are a few places I'm sure people in the comments would love to see. Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of What's Going On.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
Even though there are more serious news going on in the UK and around the world, that's not the angle I want to take this channel. I want what I cover to either be important to the internet or non-serious. The weird news segment I did last week is a great example of that, where I talked about 7 weird articles that happened that week and it might return. The stories from the weeks before were significant in terms of the internet as well. I don't want to talk about catastrophic events, or events that might become massively controversial, because that's not fun to cover.
I like to have fun.
Now that's out of the way, this week I'm discussing ILiveHere's 2021 Top 50 Worst Places to Live in England.
How bad is it there, Rupert?
It's rubbish.
Rupert, thank you.
To clarify one thing, ILiveHere seems to be more like a comedy website, and the headlines lead that way with articles titled in such ways as Runcorn, a big chavvy blister just outside Liverpool, and Weybridge, the wealthy town, but that's just the council. Looking at the results of the poll, I don't exactly trust the results. Considering places like Portsmouth aren't in the top 50, it does beg the question of whether people are being serious. They seem to hate being in the south, and would rather their town was moved somewhere where they also don't have many teeth. Unfortunately, the Jeremy Kyle show has stopped, so we don't know where the majority of these people are from now. Then again, places like that are jealous of others, and Southampton seems to be it, with them getting into the top 50. We're a miserable bunch, so it's a combination of serious Southampton residents and jealous Portsmouth residents. There's, unfortunately, no article on Southampton, so we can't say why the website thinks Southampton is bad. Then again, I could probably tell you that, but I won't. Andover comes in at number 22 on this list. On their website, they lead with the headline, Andover, Gulag of Hampshire. The article starts as Andover has to be the most depressing town in the Northern Hemisphere, which sounds like a promising way to begin an article like this. By the way, I should note that "the" is fully capitalised. Amusingly, that's not their only article on Andover, with other headlines being titled as Andover, the towns where dreams are made and then shattered, and Andover, stay away from this abysmal little town. To my knowledge, I've never been to Andover, but being from Hampshire, I can imagine some places being far less miserable than this, except Northam in Southampton. The airport mainly because of the miserable Saints fans, a series named Airline that aired on ITV or Sky that gained popularity because of people going mad. Let's not talk about obviously that's pretty funny because top 10 starts with Halifax. Mad people. Most people know Halifax reacting to formerly represented by Howard Brown being the woman who tried to get her cat back to France.
Sure you're using
Then again, they were flying through EasyJet, so their decisions weren't the greatest. For the people Luton came 7th on this list, and it's probably about time I went outside of Yorkshire. Based on the list so far, with places such we're going to the southeast in a county named Bedfordshire. When you hear the name Bedfordshire, you probably think of quotes from the article are as follows. With some fantastic realised that I would need an when you hear the name Luton, you probably imagine it being miserable and unexciting. Another more like Luton is as follows. Whatever. It came as quite a shock when the locals began inspecting. A quote from the article is as follows. I think it was the first time they'd seen anyone without tracksuit bottoms and comparable to the Playboy tax exile haven of Monaco, which says all nothing in the world can prepare you for Halifax was 24th on this list. I'll be honest, I've never heard of Jaywick before this, so when I searched on YouTube, I get a lot of most deprived town in Britain and toughest seaside resorts in Britain. The latter has a pretty miserable shot of boarded up homes whilst talking about the strength of the place.
Yet no other resort has the tough survival instinct of Jaywick. It's withstood 6 floods in its time, and everywhere you look, there's a reminder of the enduring spirit of the East End.
From those shots, it sounds more like a place I'd rather run away from than move into. Some of the shots are more reminiscent of a building site than a seaside town. Not all their fault, though. As one of the shows talk about multiple floods hitting the area. Honestly, the more I look into the place, the more miserable it seems. Genuinely, it's more of a story about a town that's been destroyed and not restored. Furthermore, it's a place where there could be some potential for development into a more flourishing seaside town. The most deprived town in Britain means that something should be done about it.
There are an awful lot of crap towns in the UK, but this is the crappiest.
If you've not heard of Luton before, it's probably more famous for its airport than anything.
Fly with me, let's fly away.
At Luton Airport, there's bad news for a group of passengers who've arrived to catch the 8:15 flight to Nice.
The airport mainly because of, as I've just shown, a series named Airline that aired on ITV or Sky that gained popularity because of people going mad. Obviously that's pretty funny because of the internet loving watching mad people, and watching people reacting to them. One example being the woman who tried to get her cat back to France. Then again, they were flying through EasyJet, so their decisions weren't the greatest. Luton came 7th on this list, and it's probably about time I went outside of Yorkshire. Instead, we're going to the southeast in a county named Bedfordshire. When you hear the name Bedfordshire, you probably think of nice, green countrysides with some fantastic lakes. When you hear the name Luton, you probably imagine it being miserable and unexciting. It reads more like Luton, whatever, than Luton, exciting. A quote from the article is as follows. The town itself is not easy on the eye. It makes Slough comparable to the Playboy tax exile haven of Monaco, which says all you need to hear, especially when Slough was 24th on this list.
But since the book has come out, quite a few people have come forward and started pointing out the better side of the town, and to an extent I can see that there are some things that are working well here, and there's hope for the future at least, let's say that.
Oh, you were translating from Scottish to... No, from...
Scouse.
Scouse to English for her?
No, I can't speak Spanish or anything, so I was just trying. I learned agua, that means water.
Keeping on the topic of the accent, one of the quotes from the article is, if you can't get past the accents and the copious amount of phlegm that fly around every time the locals say a word with the letters C or K in them, you've passed the first test. Don't ever engage in conversation with a Scouser about crockery, or Krakow in Poland, or you will surely be drenched. Fortunately, I don't speak Scouse, but any attempts would result in my water returning to the cup. In the linked article, Liverpool, more like living stool. I'm not giving you prizes for guessing what that means. There's a quote that's along the lines of, on the topic of inhabitants, my God, there's a deplorable, self-entitled, proud of themselves for no reason bunch of scallywags. In second, we have Huddersfield. There's not really much to say about this that hasn't been said about any other Yorkshire place, so I'll keep this reasonably short and sweet. Well, based on this list, it's probably more less sour than anything. That and I think bashing bad towns in Yorkshire is a bit much for this video. I wouldn't be surprised to see Danny from Rate My Takeaway go to any of these places. If, because of this video, I assume, you want to move to Huddersfield, there are a few requirements worth noting. You must have a minimum of 3 kids, with at least one 50% genetically unrelated to the others. You must have a BMI greater than 30. You must have teeth like a burnt-out fuse box. And finally, you must agree to dump a shopping trolley or a mattress in your garden. If you want to move to the worst place in Yorkshire on this poll, those are the requirements. Good luck to you, and anybody else around you for that sake. The winner, if you could call it that, is Peterborough. For reference, Peterborough has won the title for the last 3 years in a row. Honestly, I'd argue that's a feat I'd like to not be associated with anywhere I lived. An experience from somebody from Peterborough describes it as, Peterborough should have been destroyed during World War II, but even Hitler and Goering didn't think it was worth bothering with. The writers of the article note how the mass quantity of votes for Peterborough almost resulted in a site crash. However, with 2,000 votes deducted for vote rigging, You could probably deduce the reasoning for the crash. Another experience of the area is as follows, because I can't think of any way to describe Peterborough. If booking a weekend getaway in Peterborough, it is customary that if a stranger holds eye contact with you for more than 3 seconds, to shout, "What?" and become overly aggressive. I'd like to thank you all for watching and hope you liked the video. If you did, comment your worst places to live in England, and subscribe for more justified Portsmouth hate.